Welcome to We Left the Nest with Robert,
and Melissa,
redefining us.
Join us as we share our personal stories of love and loss, navigating hard times, and the joy that comes with growing up together.
Listen in for inspiring and relatable discussions that remind us all of the power of love and resilience in the journey of life.
We'll explore our past and talk about what we've learned over the last 25 years.
We're diving deep into the beautiful chaos of life, including marriage, family, raising kids, and the challenges that come up.
With sprinkles of lighthearted laughter to keep things fun, get comfy while we engage in
Candid conversations with no reservation.
Welcome to another episode of We Left the Nest.
Because we did.
We did. We left the nest. Now we're here to talk all about it.
And what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about parenting. And how that differs from mom to dad and all of our experience with that, raising these kids. To who they are today. I mean, for the first, how many years was it that you worked nights?
Like 8 years, whereas nights.
8 years. So for the first 8 years, you were working nights. And
then I was working like part nights, part like a closing schedule.
Yeah, like a 5 to 2. Yeah. I remember that shift. Because sometimes I would take the kids up to where he worked and meet him for his lunch. Sometimes I would make dinner for the kids and then we'd pack it all up and bring it up to him for his lunch hour so he would have a hot dinner and not eat like microwave food.
Which is very accessible when you work at a grocery store.
Yeah. You worked night crew for a lot of years. And again, we were just kind of like making it work because back then you could work at a grocery store and pay the bills.
Yeah, and now it's not so much a thing.
Nowadays, it's a different story. It's definitely, I mean, I don't know in other states, but definitely here, it's not really you can't really make a career of it, probably unless you're in management.
I mean, you can make it a career. It's just not going to be well-paying, and you won't be able to single income for sure. Right. You definitely can't do single income.
You definitely, yeah, you couldn't. So when you work nights, you would come home, and I would basically try to get the kids out of the house. They weren't they were in school part of it, but in the very early stages of this, they were not. And I remember just trying to find as many things as I could to take them to and get them out of the house that was not super expensive.
I remember sleeping during the day.
Yeah. And even on your days off, you would keep that schedule. So for many years, it was a lot like being a single parent. Even on your days off, you would keep your night, like your sleeping during the day.
For the most part, unless you were doing something.
There were days that you would stay up you couldn't do that anymore. I think there were times that you actually would stay up until you came back the next day.
Yeah, it was tough, but I was younger, so then you could do it then.
But when all of this was going on and I was, parenting the kids, I would be with them all day, all night, and as their mom, I'm constantly, asking, clean up after yourself, brush your teeth, get ready for bed, on repeat. All the things that moms say that the kids, have selective hearing for. But when you were around for those times, you would say it one time in your dad voice, and it would just happen.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be?
No, it's
tell them once, they get the thing done.
Right, and I remember one time when I was talking to you about this, and I was like, I don't understand why they listen to you. And do you remember what you said?
No.
You told me because I tell them. I don't ask them.
I do tell them. I didn't ask if they wanted to do something. Would you please? I would just tell them to do this thing.
And it's like they were so deathly afraid of you.
They were either going to do the thing or we would have to go on. There wasn't a reason to be afraid, physically, obviously. We talked about this before.
Yeah, as we've covered in other episodes, we didn't spank. So it wasn't like they were scared you were going to hurt them. I mean, I don't think. You never threatened it. It's not like you were like, because there's a lot of parents that'll be like, do this or I'm going to beat your A. Right? We've never talked to the kids like that. So it's not like it was even a threat.
No.
Because I was very big on, the kids are not going to be cussed at. That was a limit for me. We don't swear them because you grew up being sworn at, right? Like,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I guess a lot of people do. I wasn't raised that way. And I still will physically react if somebody uses a bad word towards me. I feel it when somebody uses a...
Should we test that right now?
No, in a vulgar or mean way. Not if somebody's just swearing in their everyday conversations like you do.
But if it's directed at you.
If it's directed at me, I physically feel my body react to that. It's like my whole body tenses up.
And this is why I had to do and say the things that made them listen. Because there's different styles here. Different styles. But it's okay.
But I remember being that way with my parents. I don't actually remember my dad ever spanking me. I remember my mom spanking me, but I was more afraid of my dad than I was of my mom. How about you?
I don't know that I was more afraid of one or the other. I mean, my dad left when I was like 10 or 11, so that time where you're really starting to go into your teens and stuff, he wasn't there for that.
Right.
So
you never really had anybody you were afraid of at that age?
Yeah.
I was just always scared of my dad, and I don't remember him ever. I remember the times I remember being spanked, it was my mom spanking me. But I just remember being scared of him. And I don't know if that has something to do with the masculine versus the feminine energy, or if it's just the actual parent. That'd be interesting to know. If you have something to add to this, comment in the comment section, because I'd like to know. Like, were you more scared of your mom or your dad growing up, and why? Did you have a reason?
It's also interesting that dads are just more fun.
Now, see, now I feel attacked. I feel like you just said a cuss word.
Yeah.
I feel like you just said
Did your body physically react?
My body physically reacted to that. My body is like, absolutely not. You may not take. Why is that also a thing? Why is
now
it
you're
also...
agreeing, though.
No, because it makes me so annoyed. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You can't even say it now?
No, because here's the thing. I don't actually remember thinking one of my parents was more fun than the other parent. My dad just worked. I mean, there was one day a week on Sundays that we would have family day. And we would go do something together as a family. The zoo, Marine World, Africa, USA, because that's what it was then. A park. Like Tilden Park. We would just go do something as a family together, and usually we would go out to eat. We would go to Fleet Week and watch the Blue Angels every year, and so that was something that I know my dad made that effort. Mm-hmm. I remember, my dad like always surprising us, and maybe sometimes we wouldn't know where we were going, and it was a surprise. And but I wouldn't say he was fun. Like he would get down and play with us and stuff. I guess sometimes he would wrestle. You would like get down and wrestle with the kids, and you would play games like board games and stuff with them, and video games with them. Like you. I also would not let them win. You would not. He is one of those parents that
Nobody
will not
let me win. There's no participation trophy here.
The kids don't get a win. He's playing for blood, basically.
Second place is just the first loser.
Maybe that's why they're scared of you. Because it's true. It's true.
It's true. Second place is the first loser.
That's true, but the fact that they saw you as fun is, it frustrated me because it was like, I have to do the disciplining and the cleaning and the cooking and making them do their chores, and I have to do all these things that aren't fun, and then when you are off and you do have time, you get to join us for the fun things, so you get to be fun.
Pretty much fun anyway.
So you're scary and you're fun. And I have to work 10 times as hard for everything.
So I'm a haunted house.
Yes, you're the haunted house of the family.
Great.
You're the haunted house of the family. Yeah. Definitely. I remember you going on the trampoline with the kids. They loved that.
I remember chucking the kid in the air.
We would go to Chuck E. Cheese and you would play all those games with them. Yeah, you did. You launched Ethan in the air pretty far. I have a picture of that somewhere. You just like, I don't even know how you did it, but you would launch them in the air. And they loved that. He didn't love that. The other two loved it. Ethan was terrified. You did that 1 or 2 times and he was like, put me on the ground. I don't want to go back up there. He was always our more cautious child. I think he still is. But yeah, so you did get to be the fun one. And you got to be the scary one. And do you remember your dad being the fun one? I mean, because you were old enough when he left that you have probably memories of him around home. Like, did he play with you guys a lot, or?
My mom never played with us that I can recall. A little bit. We played hide and seek once and he broke his ribs.
I remember that story. He got stuck in the between a garage and a fence or something?
Well, he had kind of locked himself in the workshop part of the garage because we had this weird garage in Oakland where we lived. And he had locked himself in there, and I knew that he had to come out one of the doors when he was ready to go, right? It was kind of like a tag hide and seek we were playing.
But you knew he was there, though.
But I knew he was there.
Okay.
And there were 3 exits to this, and one was the back wall where there was some plywood back there, so I knew he wasn't going out that way. Then the door that was to the laundry room part of the garage, and then the front exit. Instead of
like
choosing
the part that rolls up for the car.
Well, no, there wasn't one of those. It was just another door. But it's a garage, but wasn't for cars. I don't know how to explain that. Okay. Like an extra
like
building,
a shop,
I guess.
Like a workshop. Okay.
Kind of like that. So instead of going out any of those exits, he took the sheetrock off of the wall and went out the side of the garage.
Such a dad move.
He literally took the sheetrock off of the wall.
I don't remember this part.
Busted the wall open on the outside and went out that way.
Gosh.
So then he's between our garage and the neighbor's garage.
Uh-huh.
And when he tried to come forward to go out, there's a little mini fence there.
Uh-huh.
That was I don't know, a foot or 2 wide because it was really close.
Gate?
There was no gate.
Oh,
it was just a fencing there.
Oh, okay.
And he tried to climb over that, and the boards on the top fell, and he landed on there and broke his ribs when they collapsed. So then I had to...
Such a dad move. To break the sheetrock to
I had
get
to
away.
help him get inside so we could call an ambulance. But he literally just took the sheetrock down and then busted out the side of the garage.
That seems like fun.
But I don't remember much else really. Most of the time it was just go play outside. Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot in the 80s. It was go play outside, come home when the street lights come on. You'd run around the neighborhood, and the way you would find people is, how would you find your friends? Where are they at? Because their bikes are laying outside somebody's house.
Well, no. We were in Oakland. Your bike would get fucking stolen.
Okay. Well, I was in Richmond.
They'd steal your bike. So
I think only one time a bike got stolen. But yeah, I mean, we would walk up and down the block, and my mom would say, go find your sister, go find your brother, and we go look for their bikes because they weren't outside. If they weren't outside playing, you just look to see where their bikes were.
Actually, most of the kids we hung out with, I didn't either. We didn't have bikes. I had a bike for a little while until I got hit by a car. But
did the bike get hit?
Yeah. But
I mean, I shouldn't laugh.
A lot of people just didn't have bikes.
Yeah. Well, see, that's different. We just grew up with bikes because it's how we got around the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, bikes are expensive.
I guess we had a privilege of having bikes.
Right.
I remember my bike. I remember getting my bike. It had a banana seat. You know those long, the long banana seat.
I know what it looks like.
Yeah, it was a cool bike. I liked my bike.
So you ride a bike now?
No, I'd probably be scared to ride a bike now. Okay, so you don't really remember him playing much. And then, I don't remember my parents playing much. But one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about also on this episode was, obviously, when we got together, we didn't really talk about becoming parents first or getting married first because of the way we got together. And so you didn't know, and I didn't know about you, what your expectations for me being like a wife and a mother were. And you wouldn't have known what my expectations for you being a father and a husband were. But also, I don't even know at that time if that was a vocabulary either of us had. I just figured once we got married and we had a baby that you would just be the way that a dad is and a husband is. And the only definition I had of that was watching my father and my uncles and people in my family. And you didn't really have that defined for you if your dad wasn't really around much.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
So you wouldn't know what I expected from you, and you also wouldn't know what that looks like because your dad just wasn't around. So I remember early on after we got married, I want to say Alex was maybe 6 months old. And I remember being really frustrated because you weren't doing certain things that I wanted you to do. And I didn't tell you that. But somehow at 18 years old, I realized that these were things that I expected and you hadn't actually changed. Like, I remember struggling with, should I have actually gotten married? Was I ready for this? You know, is this just going to be what life is like? Or you just, because you like to play video games, and you did that a lot. And so I was just like, is this just how it's going to be? And I remember thinking to myself, he hasn't changed. Like, you hadn't changed anything about you from when we first got together.
To now.
In the 6 months. In the 6 months. Because we got married when Alex was 3 months old. And you were still the exact same person that I married. The only difference was that you hadn't become who I thought you would be just because you now had these titles.
I did get a title.
Yeah. But you didn't know that I was having that struggle. So it wasn't fair for me in my at the time.
Your great wisdom of
working
18.
and working through this, I realized it was unfair of me to be upset at you for something that you didn't even know you were doing. Because you weren't doing anything wrong. You hadn't done anything. You've changed nothing from the time we got together to the time we got married and had a baby, which some people may consider wrong. But how could you know that if I didn't even tell you that? And so that's when I started having those conversations with you about spending more time together, doing things as a family, stuff like that.
Ugh.
Do you remember those conversations?
I gotta spend time with you? Other than the making the kid thing?
Other than making the kids. Yeah. Yeah. Because now you have a little baby and you have a wife. And you have to decide. It was up to us to communicate and to figure out now that we're in this situation. Like, now we're married. We have a child. And at that point, I think we had a child on the way. We just didn't know it yet. And it's up for us. It's up to us to paint the picture, to create the life, to the experience of our children's childhood. And what do we want that to be? I didn't want it to be a childhood of us arguing back and forth about what I think you should do and you not wanting to do things. That wasn't fair to the kids. It wasn't fair to us, right? So then it was just navigating through that to find a good medium place. Do you remember any of that?
Am I supposed to say yes? I remember a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. Yeah. But I remember that part being like, wait, like, he hasn't actually done anything wrong. Because you hadn't done anything except not met the expectations I had for you. And I think that happens a lot in relationships. I mean, even to this day, like, I can find examples of when, you may not meet an expectation I have for you, but I haven't told you that that's what I expected you to do.
You didn't even tell me what this episode was about. How am I supposed to...
Talk now. Talk. What is your opinion? But I feel that I don't know, do you disagree with that? Are there ever times that you have expectations of me or things that you would want me to do or think I should do that I just don't do it? And you're just like, oh my God, it's so annoying.
Yeah, but then I hang up the phone.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's tough because now we do talk about a lot of things, a lot more things than we talked about, obviously, when we were younger.
Right.
But even in our 30s, we didn't talk about a lot of stuff that we could have talked about. And not necessarily because it was uncomfortable. It's not like we ever felt uncomfortable around each other. I think we've been pretty secure with that. It's just a matter of, is this a thing that is worth having a conversation about, or do I just deal with it? And most of the time in our marriage, I feel like it's just been so many minor things that haven't even risen to the point where you would need to even entertain a conversation. When there are bigger issues, we've, had those conversations. Obviously, you don't just go and have 3 kids and buy a couple houses over the course of your marriage and get different jobs and all these things without those bigger conversations. But I feel like both of us, when there are these little things that don't add up to a big thing. Now, if it does add up, like if there's repeated things like, I just left my clothes random places across the house. As you go along, you're not going to be happy that all of these things are messed up, right? But for us, I feel like things don't typically get to that point before it changes or something, comes along. I don't feel like we let it get to a point where it's that bad. Not because we've talked about it, but just because we can tell.
Yeah, I feel like with how our relationship has evolved over the last 25 years, we really just know. Right? Like, we just kind of know. But there were those little conversations along the way where we learned each other, right? We've grown up together, really. And so I think that for us, sometimes things are a lot easier. Like, you do so much that is so helpful to me, that are little things, but it shows me that you care, right? I am an acts of service. If you've never done the love languages, I highly recommend you take the test, because I am an acts of service girl through and through. And you are a quality time. That's your number one, I think. It's your quality time. So when you pretty much every time replace the toilet paper roll before it even gets empty and set the little bit left on the counter, I'm like, oh my gosh, he loves me. Like, when you do the dishes or take the laundry out of the dryer and, sort them all out and hang them up or get them ready for, to be put away. Those things, it just makes me feel so loved, right? Whereas neither one of us are a gifts person. And I think that your top 2, I think your quality time and physical touch, or you quality time and words of affirmation? I don't remember.
Probably physical touch, because I don't feel like I need anybody to
saying nice things to you. Yeah, you do that for yourself.
I think I can get by without nice things being said to me.
And it's funny because my absolute last one is physical touch. So we're very opposite. But yeah, I mean, just over the years, we've kind of just evolved to this place where we can do things for each other without even having to ask, and just knowing that the other one will appreciate it. But when we first started out, that wasn't the case. And when we were first learning, just parenting, I think you never are done learning how to parent. I don't think that one day you're just like, okay, I'm done, I know it all. You're just constantly going to the next stage, right? You have infancy and you get past that and you survive that, and then you're into the toddler stage, and then they start school, and then they're in middle school and high school. Like, it's just constantly evolving, and you're just continuously learning. So I don't think you're ever through it. You're continuously
doing acts of service for your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was a big thing, is just I would give and give and give and give of myself until I just would explode sometimes. Like, I was not good at asking for help or delegating, which is something that you would like to point out to me a lot.
She was definitely not good at all about having the kids have any responsibilities. They did do their laundry from a fairly young age. They started to do their own laundry.
I set a strong boundary on that when Katrina was angry at me one day because she didn't have the jeans that she wanted to clean for school.
This is a girl thing.
And then I was like, guess what? You're old enough to reach the knobs on the washing machine, so now you guys can do your own laundry. And then your laundry will be clean, and if it's not clean, it's not my fault. That was a hardcore boundary. And then, like, as soon as they could reach the knobs, they all did their own laundry. And I stuck to that. But you're right. I wouldn't... It's not that I didn't require... It's not that I didn't ask of them. It's not that I didn't say you have things that you need to do around here. It's that I would just get so tired of asking that I'd just do it. Or I also have perfectionistic tendencies, and I would want to do it because I would just want it done the way I wanted it done instead of letting them do it.
There's some things I still can't do. There's some things I still can't do.
I've gotten a lot better. I feel like I've gotten a lot better over the years. What do you say?
I can't fold the towels.
Well, listen, we don't even fold our towels for the most part anymore.
The towels for the pool.
Oh, our beach towels. Yeah.
I can't fold those.
You can fold them.
I can't fold them the way that my wife wants them to be folded.
But don't they look much neater when they're folded?
I mean, folded is folded.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So there are, but I have gotten better about some things. Right?
Folded is folded.
Maybe I haven't gotten better.
No, she's gotten better about some things, but a lot of that is I don't know, maybe some of it is my fault or I'm the cause of it. Like, I do the dishes a lot more now, so she's not nitpicky about how it's loaded because she doesn't have to do it. She's accepted that.
Yeah.
Because we both load it a little bit differently. It's very similar, but there's a little bit of difference there. And now she's gotten to the point where she will not move the stuff around.
Because for a long time, I didn't understand how much that hurts people's feelings. Right? Because I'm a very type A in certain things. Like, I want the mug handles to go between the slots so they don't move around a lot. Or, and I want, like, I don't want the forks pointing down because I don't want, like, the water to drip and them dry and have water spot. Like, there's certain things that, and there are reasons why I do them that way. But when somebody does something for you because they are trying to help you, and then you go back and you readjust everything, it doesn't feel good to them.
Yeah, that's not good.
So then it's kind of like, well, why am I even helping you? So a lot of the times I would want help and then I would go back and redo it. And so then you're just, I feel like the message I'm sending you and the kids is that they're not good enough. And that's really sad.
You don't know what you're doing.
Because
let me just do it. I'll just do it.
And what does it hurt? And this is the thing, is like, what does it hurt if the dishes aren't loaded a certain way? It doesn't, they still get cleaned. Right? Even if there are water drips dried on the forks and you can see them, it's still clean and you can still eat off of it. It was washed in the heat and sterilized.
I didn't know that the drips on the forks were even a thing until right now.
Well, spoons are worse. But I'm just saying, it's not a big deal. In the scheme of life, nobody is going to look back in 25 years and be like, do you remember that one time we had dessert and there were spots from the dishwasher on the spoon?
Oh my gosh, so terrible. Oh, just thinking about it has ruined my whole night.
That's one of the things that I think if I could go back, I would change not just allowing the kids and you to just do things to be helpful or to do things because I asked it to be done. Because I think that's not great.
I think one of the important parts is if you're going to ask somebody else to do something, that you aren't nitpicky about how they do it.
Right. Yeah.
Just let them do the thing.
Absolutely.
Now, if it's catastrophic, right? If it's something like way over the top, like they put the mugs on the bottom rack.
That's not okay.
Exactly. See that?
Why would you do that?
Okay, so then you've got to go in and do some corrective, but then that's a teaching moment.
You're right. Yeah, you just have to use it as a teaching moment. And that's the thing. Thank you for bringing that up because
Okay.
Because these things can be teaching moments. Instead of going back and redoing everything that you did, I can go in and be like, listen, tell the kids, listen, thank you for doing the dishes. But the reason why I put the forks this way and this way is because of this, and explain it instead of redoing it all and say, this is why I do it. And then maybe it just becomes a habit for them.
Unless they're mad at you. In which case it becomes a habit to do it the wrong way, or the way you don't want it to be.
That's true.
Because they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And if I do it wrong, Mom's just going to fix it.
It's true. I think that.
See, they could play those mind games.
And our kids are really smart. I know they did a lot of that, of just like not hearing me.
They definitely got that from you.
And then I would just end up doing it. I would get so tired of waiting for things to get done. Garbage, taking the garbage out and the recycling out.
This is annoying. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it. It's not going to be on your schedule, but I will do it. That doesn't mean I need to do it right now.
Yes, it absolutely
does. It does not.
If I am cleaning the kitchen and I have got the dishes done and say I'm meal prepping too, I have all the stuff going on, and I'm like, hey, babe, could you please take out the garbage? And you say yes.
Yeah, I will take it out.
If 3 hours later I'm working around a full garbage and I'm still trying to put more stuff in this full garbage and you haven't taken it out, I'm just going to take it out myself.
But
because it's not helpful.
Had you just been a little more patient?
3 hours, I feel like, is really patient.
Had you just held on a little longer, then this task would have been done for you.
This episode was going to be about parenting, and I feel like it's turned into just communicating in a relationship, which is great. I love the way that this took a turn, because these are fantastic subjects. Like, that drives me nuts. If you say you're going to do something and I have to wait all day for it to get done. We actually just had a conversation about this because I saw something like this posted on a mom's group. And we were discussing it. The mom was saying that she had done all this work. They were getting ready for the birthday party the next day. She had listed everything. Made the cake, prepped the food, cleaned the house. Done all these things while the husband was working that day. And the husband got home, and around the children, 2 or 3 children, I think, younger children, and asked that he put away the dishes, take out the garbage, and get the kids to bed while she took a shower.
When was the party?
The next day.
So he could just do these things in the morning.
So she came out of the shower and found him asleep on the bed with the kids and was upset.
Because he had worked all day and then he just laid down with the kids.
Well, she had worked all day too.
Okay, but again, the 3 things that she asked to be done, plenty of time in the morning to get them done.
And this was the conversation that we had then, because from the point of view where you're at home doing all that day with also having the children, and these are the last things on your list, and if you're like me, you're a list checker offer, and you will even add things to the list so you can check them off because you didn't have them on the list, but you did do them.
I think an important factor here would also be, like, what was his profession? Was he working a desk job, or is he, like, professional, like, ultimate Frisbee player?
But does it matter what the profession is?
It does,
she's exerted just as much physical exercise and more mental exercise.
I'm trying to find that out.
Because she's also raising the children at the same time.
You're completely neglecting my argument here. I'm trying to find out which he's done.
Right. But what I'm saying is that part, for me, doesn't matter.
Why?
Because of all the things that she has done in the same day. She's equally, if not more, tired than him, most likely. And just wants the dishes put away and the garbage taken out and the kids put to bed.
Man, those are things that could be done in the morning.
See? That's what I'm saying.
The party's not going to be in the morning. It's going to be in the afternoon at the earliest, if not evening.
But for an acts of service person, it feels an awful like you don't care about them.
You'll be serviced in the morning. Because we both just worked all day, and that stuff is not that important, and it can wait until the morning.
Yeah, and I think this is where these disagreements show up in marriages and relationships, because it's not important to you, but it would be important. It would be important to me, and I would feel like you were being mean by not finishing those few things I asked you to do. It would feel like you didn't care.
I still would get those things done.
On your time. Which means that I would get out of the shower and I would see you asleep with the kids, and then I would go take out the garbage and put away. You would cover us
up with a blanket.
Absolutely not.
And be like, wow, that's so cute. And then make sure that my feet weren't cold.
And this is like, I'm talking about, this is at the time that I was raising children, right? Now, I realize that those things aren't as important as I thought they were at the time. But as I'm raising children, like, that is...
And you hear what she said? Not as important to me. They're just not as important. She has realized that some of those things just aren't that important. Everybody puts a lot of emphasis on all these things have to be done right now. All this stuff has to be taken care of. And it really doesn't. How much of the world is going to change because those things waited for a more convenient time for everybody involved?
And it won't. But also, when you're in the thick of raising kids and you are a stay-at-home parent and you do have all that going on top of the kids. I mean, just the kids and their demands and the mental...
Like that is just because you want a little bit more organization to things, and you want things to be completed so that they are just...
Well, it's true.
Not...
For instance, when the kids were younger, I would not go to sleep if there were dirty dishes in the sink because I had to get up the next day when they were younger. Not when they were little kids and we lived at the house in Vallejo, I would do dishes every single night.
I get it.
Because I didn't want to get up in the morning and have to start a breakfast routine with a sink full of dishes. So like now... You and I live together with no children anymore in the house. If there are dishes in the sink at night, we'll wash them in the morning before we have breakfast, right? Like
maybe.
Not that big a deal. But back then, it was a really big deal for me. And I feel like a lot of times that is overlooked when, just like you're saying, it's not a big deal, the world won't end. And to you, that's true. But to a parent who is the primary caregiver, at home dealing with the kids every single day, it can be a make or break in your day the next morning. Like it could set you off for a completely terrible morning or a great morning. So I see both sides of it. Now, being where I'm at and having raised the kids, I also realize that even if the dishes had been in the sink, we will survive, right? But at the time, 20 years ago, 25 years ago...
End of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
How could you possibly have cereal when there's a fork in the sink?
Well, we didn't eat a lot of cereal.
That's not the point.
But, it's not just a fork. When you have little kids, you've got sippy cups, and you've got plates, you've got spoons, you've got maybe bibs, depending on it, like
if you have
bottles.
Multiple kids, you're going to have one kid that gets a new glass for every time they have water.
Oh, we have one of those, yeah. He still does that, I think, actually.
I don't understand that one.
He still does that. But... Yeah, so a lot has changed in the last 25 years, and I think that we kind of figured things out as we went, since we didn't talk about it beforehand, but I think it's not a bad idea to have these things kind of discussed before you.
Hopefully we can get AI to do the dishes pretty soon.
I remember... Maybe. I remember a really big turning point in our relationship, in your relationship with the kids, where... They were still young. I would take them out. I was leaving the house to go to the zoo with my mom and take the kids to the zoo. And I really wanted you to go if you were off that day. And you didn't want to go. And I would always really push you to go do things with the kids because I grew up with family days and it was important to me. And now looking back, I know you didn't grow up with family days and it just didn't seem like a big deal. And you didn't want to go to the zoo with my mom and hang out with my mom and the kids.
Did not want to hang out with her mom.
But I remember telling you, like, having a disagreement and being upset you weren't going, and I had the kids all down in the car, and came up to get something and went back down, and I stopped at the door and I turned around and I said, I'm not gonna argue with you about this anymore, but one day you're gonna look back and you're gonna wish you had this time back, and it's gonna be gone. And after that conversation, you started showing up more. People in the family would comment what a change they'd seen in you. Because it was your decision to do it. It wasn't me nagging you. I believe to this day that it was because I put it back on you, and it was just like, one day you might not have this, and...
She is very good at nagging, though. If necessary.
Thanks. It's my superpower. I think it's a superpower.
It's not a superpower. Super annoying.
It was. I'm sure it was super annoying for you to hear every time I left the house that I wanted you to come with us. Because you just weren't interested. It's just not something you were interested in. Because you didn't grow up doing those things. So for you, it was like, why am I going to go out to the zoo with the kids? Like,
I don't remember going to the zoo, but maybe once or twice when I was a kid. And it was right down the street. It was like less than a mile away from my house.
I was actually taking him to the same zoo you grew up near.
Yeah, I lived near the Oakland Zoo. I was like less than a mile away. So, and I still only went a few times that I can remember. We didn't go to amusement parks really. We had one road trip where we were going to go to Disneyland. We didn't make it. We got to Magic Mountain, went there one day and drove back. We just didn't do that stuff. I got to go to Great America a few times because my aunt and my uncle would take us. Mostly my aunt. We would go to Great America.
Did a lot for you guys, I think.
But, like with my parents, no, we didn't. I can't think of going and doing stuff because they got divorced when I was 10, and then my mom just had to work all the time.
Did she work a lot before?
She worked before. I don't know how much she worked. I was younger. I don't really remember. I do remember her working, though.
So when you think of your childhood, like, what are your fondest memories of your childhood?
I don't know what describes fondest. I mean, I have memories. There isn't really anything where I'm like, man, I wish I could go back and do that some more.
I don't know if any of us think
There isn't really any of that. Like, as a kid, I don't,
But for me, some of my fondest memories are summer vacation when, we would take family trips or go on family days every Sunday, or like traditions at Christmas time, traditions at Easter time, getting together with family and doing egg hunts, and Thanksgiving where all our family would get together and gather around and we'd have our traditional, dishes and stuff like that. Like fond memories, things you looked forward to doing as a kid.
Thanksgivings, I guess, weren't bad because we went with extended family. Mm-hmm. We did the Heller family. Mm-hmm. So we play football at Thanksgiving, I guess. We did that. That was fine.
Yeah. I feel as our kids were growing and I was trying to create traditions that I had in my life, I remember watching you do those things with the kids like it was the first time you'd done them. Like, I specifically remember one time when we decorated Halloween cookies. Do you remember that?
I'd never done that before. Why would I have done that?
No, we had gotten these Halloween sugar cookie, I don't know if they were kits or if I made them. There were some years I made them, but, and we had the little, the frosting bags, and we were all decorating cookies, and you were like a kid again. It was adorable. You were being weird. You, like, how Dad is. You would do crazy stuff to decorate things and crazy. Okay. Carving the pumpkins. I remember carving the pumpkins with the kids, and it's something you would just get down and you really loved doing. You would get down there and you get into it. You'd be, creating whatever it was that you're creating. And so, a lot of these things I remember kind of watching you as you experienced these things for the first time, but also got to see your kids experience them.
I'm sure I carved pumpkins as a kid, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I doubt that I ever decorated a cookie in my life until then.
Well, based off of what you did, I would say you're probably right.
Okay. That's nice of you.
I'll have to find that picture. You were like, what is this?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of that. It was just like I would go out, play with my friends or whatever when I was younger, and my parents were working. That was it. A lot of times, even from... I know once my dad left for sure. I can't remember before that, but a lot of times I would just make dinner whatever that was going to be.
For you and your brothers?
Hamburger helper, or rice-a-roni, or
tuna helper.
Put some chicken in the oven, or put some pork chops in the oven.
So you were the one making dinner.
Mm-hmm.
For you and your brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Was your mom home, or you?
Well, I only had the one brother at the time. No, nobody was home.
So if you only had one, because you and your youngest brother are quite a bit apart, right? Like 11
12
years. 12 years. So.
Well, 11 and change, yeah.
Oh, that's an easy way to remember how old he is.
So anyway.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to like when I was 18 years old and kind of looking, 6 months into, maybe we were married 6 months and Alex was 9 months. And just kind of looking back at like, how is this going to work? Because you weren't doing certain things I thought you should do, but you never had a lot of things that I had. So I was looking at things from my own experience and my memories that I had and trying to put those on you, and that was kind of unfair.
Well, I mean, I just didn't have that kind of an ideal of what it should be or what you wanted it to be. And so it took a long time, but I think I got to a better place at this point. Yeah. It doesn't help the kids through their early childhood because I'm older now and they're not in their early childhood anymore. They're adults.
But, if you look back at how you showed up as a dad for them in their early childhood, it's very much what was modeled for you. You, very early on, took on the role of as a provider for our family. And you were proud of that. You took pride in that, and you worked hard, and you had a good work ethic to move up in everything you ever did quickly. In all of the careers you've had, you started from the bottom, then you were here. Like, you, with your work ethic and, with your hard work and your determination, you constantly progressed and you provided for us in a way that allowed me, I don't even know how we made it work, but it allowed me to stay home with the kids and raise them and not have to put them in childcare. Because, honestly, if I were working at that time, we'd be paying for childcare. Like, I'd work to pay for childcare.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be worth it.
We had 3 kids.
The same amount.
Yeah. So, looking back at it now, you showed up exactly how you had learned to show up. And now, seeing how far you've progressed, not only in your own personal growth, but as a dad. Like, I think if you could go back, you'd probably change things. If I could go back, I would change things too. But we can only do the best we can do with what we have, right? So
gotta do better. Be better, do better.
I don't know. I feel like everybody's way too serious. Just like enjoy life.
Take out the trash tomorrow.
Yeah, take out the trash tomorrow and snuggle your kids tonight. I always tell my friends now who have little kids and they're just like, oh, my house is a mess. Don't look at it. If I stop by it, it's just like a messy house is just a sign of your kids having a good childhood.
We don't even have kids in our house as a mess because of the dogs.
Yeah, and they're living their best lives.
They have dog toys everywhere. There's antlers. There's a dog bed in the middle of the floor because that's where the old guy likes it.
Yeah.
Like, it...
And then, it's not like we're entertaining and having company every day. It's just, I feel like since I've cared less and less about what other people may think, it's been easier to just let certain things go.
Man, isn't that a good way to live?
It is. But it's taken me 40 years to get there.
So nice, not caring what other people think.
You've never cared about what other people think.
Man, they need to just live their life.
To the point that it would annoy me.
Just live your life. I'm going to live my life. As long as we're not bugging each other.
Yeah.
You can just do whatever you want to do. I will do whatever I want to do. And we're both happy.
Okay. So, I want to... yes, true. But I want to end similarly to one of the episodes we did, that episode I asked if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself? But what if we switch it up and say if we could go back and we could change one thing, what would we change? I am not going to cry this time. I would honestly go back and tell myself and or change how serious I was about things. I would get down and laugh and play with the kids more. I would get dirty and not be worried about them getting dirty or messy. I would just want to be fully immersed in experiencing their childhood from the perspective of a child. You know, because I'm doing that right now with like Bryson. You know, my nephew, he's 3, and going back and just not having the seriousness of having to be the parent and raising and teaching lessons and like worrying about the mess, and it's just a lot of fun. And I kind of feel like you can still do all those things, but really just immerse yourself in your children's childhood and let them see you play like a kid too. I think a lot of us are too serious nowadays.
That's a good answer. Especially for you. I think that's a really good answer.
Thank you.
I can't top that. If I could change something, I would probably go back and do everything I could to be able to provide without working nights. Because I think it would have made me a better, nicer person sooner. The things it does to your sleep, the things it does to your wife when she's got to try to entertain the kids while you're sleeping, it is so difficult. And while it may not seem like it's that big a deal, or if some of you work nights, you may not even realize how big of a deal this is. It is so huge. I understand that I needed to have a job that paid the bills, but I probably could have done something to find a different job or a way to not be on nights and still work at that job, because the amount that it just drained from us, even though we were young, was just so much. It was just so much. If I had to work nights now, it wouldn't be nearly as bad because there aren't kids. I'm also 45 and I do not have to work nights now. It's not going to happen.
Nights are rough. Nights are rough for anybody, I think.
The problem is not just what it does to the person working nights, but to the other people around them. How much better would it be for the kids if I was on a normal day schedule and then didn't have to either stay on the night schedule or readjust to a night schedule after your couple days off? Like, how much nicer are your days off when you get to just be off, and maybe you want to go to the zoo with your mother-in-law and the kids because you don't work nights.
Maybe that's true. I never really thought about that part of it, actually. About you just being drained. Like, you just wanting to just sit there and actually not do anything because you'd been up when your body should have been resting.
The number of times that you're asleep and you wake up at 6 o'clock and you don't know which 6 o'clock it is not healthy. You don't know. You don't know if it's AM or PM when you just woke up.
Yeah. Especially in the winter when it's dark either way.
That is terrible. So that is what I would change, because I think it would fundamentally change a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. I think that's true. Well, this was good. We talked about some good stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't all about parenting, but it all goes together with it.
I mean, we've only done a few episodes here, so, we're going to consistently get off on tangents and do this because that's what we want it to be.
Yeah.
We want it to be as natural a conversation as possible. And so if something else comes up and that's what we get into, then that's what we're getting into, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking about this just the other day, and I was like, we're having candid conversations with no reservations. Like, we're just doing it.
Did you make that up on your own?
It came to me. I don't know. That's just how it came to me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to say that.
I'm going
That's
to
really
check
what
your
we're doing.
search history to see if this.
I didn't search it. Go ahead, look it up. Maybe somebody else probably already uses it. I don't know, but it's just like I feel like that's just kind of what we're doing. It's just like no holds barred. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Do you want to keep the candid conversations with no reservations? You want to use that?
I like that.
Yeah. Can you get that a
Sure.
shirt that says that?
Yeah, let's candid conversations with no reservations.
All right. Maybe we'll have to
Well, that's all for now.
work on that. Thanks for joining us for another episode.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next go round.